Great to be here. Thanks you guys. I want you all to be aware of my tie. I'm very excited about this. I think the blockchain and Bitcoin and Ether and all of the ICOs are so exciting for the world. It's going to transform all of the big industries. Way back when the internet came up, we had real interest in transforming industries, and a lot of great industries got transformed. It was media, communications, information, software, gaming, whole variety of other applications. And then when the internet allowed for marketplaces, taxis and hotels, all of these are good, solid industries. But what the blockchain goes after are industries. It's going to transform industries that are much, much larger, much more exciting, and will have bigger repercussions. And so I think we're going to see this technology go after. I mean, it can now be used for real estate, for banking, for insurance, for energy, for a whole vast array of different technologies that are far bigger. I mean, bigger industries that are far bigger than any industry that the internet affected. And then the one that's really big, the biggest industry in the world, is government. And the blockchain is sort of the perfect governor. Government, what they do is they protect us. They keep track of all of our names and all the information about us. They give us insurance. They give us pensions and medical insurance and set up medical plans, and think about what those all are. Well, they're all data. They should all be on the blockchain, because then you apply the individual to the blockchain, and you suddenly have this new this way of governing that is that doesn't need all those bureaucrats. It doesn't need all the people. And so I suspect that we will get big backlash in all those industries, in banking, in insurance, in real estate, in energy, and in government. I suspect that all those will feel threatened as Bitcoin and the blockchain and Ethereum and all of and Tezos and Credo and Bancor, all of them are going to have they're going to make real change in the world, and we are going to have this. I'm hoping it's an evolution and not a revolution, but things are going to change. If you start projecting out, you start thinking, well, wait a second, government is land-based. What is the purpose of these borders? I talk to people in the State Department, and they say, oh, we have a threat from this government, or a threat from that government, a threat here, a threat there. What are those threats? I go to all those countries. I never feel the threat. I never feel like there's this animosity toward our country or another country, I see people. And people are all over the world, and they're all just trying to figure out how to get by. And I think the State Department is trying to justify their existence. And we have a real potential problem there. I think we're being sold the idea that all our governments are sort of have loyalties to one group against another, whatever. And I feel like we're not seeing that we're all one world, and the Bitcoin is like this amazing currency that I can move to another world. If I'm in Argentina, and I know that the peso is going to drop 30% per year, or I'm in Nigeria, and I know the naira is going to drop 50% next year. I don't mind holding the naira or the peso as long as the government sort of holds tight. But if it doesn't hold tight, everything I built, everything that's out there is gone. If one of those countries falls and there's a new dictator in there, and but if I have Bitcoin, I can move from one place to the next, and so this is really one of the great times, I think, for all of us. Oh, somebody asked what he does. Tim Draper, U.S. profession. My profession is I'm a venture capitalist, and I'm being disintermediated by the blockchain, and I'm excited about it, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I also started Draper University of Heroes, which is a school for entrepreneurs. So I am really excited, and I really think that all that you guys are all doing for this new world is so extraordinary and so important. I want everybody to kind of start to think about the consequence, how this is going to play out in the future. It is so great because right now in the U.S., we spend about 50% of our GDP on government. Well, if government is going to be affected by this, first of all, we're going to be able to run governments on 3% of GDP or 10% of GDP because of this. This blockchain is going to be able to accomplish most of the goals that a government goes through, and how they accomplish those goals will determine sort of how many government employees we really need. And if we don't need as many, it's going to cost us all less, and we're going to be able to use all of that extra economic value to grow progress. So what's really going on is that we are going to be able to accelerate progress. We're all going to be able to progress at a much faster rate. I expect Moore's law will accelerate, and we'll get closer to the human genome much faster because we'll have many more people. If half the people in your population are in some way tied to government, then that's half the people dragging on the economy that the other people are trying to pull forward. So if we're down to 10% of the people in government, or 10% of the money and the value in government, then we got 90% of the people pulling forward, and who knows what we're capable of. We could get to Mars a lot faster. We could have new kinds of transportation devices. We can cure cancer. We can discover new worlds. So many things we can do. And we'll do it so much faster because we'll have the force of all those other people behind us. There's one other thing I want to hit on, and that is what you guys are all doing and building out the blockchains and doing the ICOs and supporting Bitcoin. What you're really doing is banking the unbanked. If I have $15 and I want to go open a bank account, Wells Fargo will push me away because it costs them $200 just to regulate my account. So if it costs me $200 to regulate that account, then all those people with less than $200 or less than $1,000, are going to be unbanked. So what we've been able to do because of Bitcoin and all of these other alternative currencies is we've been able to allow those people to participate in the global economy. And so we just opened up the global economy for 3 billion people. This is going to make an enormous difference to all of society, and we'll have those 3 billion people pushing progress forward. And so now they get to be a part of the economy. They get to have a chance to build wealth. And as we all know, a wealthy society comes when you get more freedom and you have better liquidity in your markets. And that's what we're actually all doing. We're creating enormous liquidity in our markets. So this is really one of the great times in history, and I feel like we're riding an amazing tsunami, and I hope you all enjoy the ride. So now I'll just answer some of these questions. So far, the U.S. is quite restrictive regarding the ICOs. Any thought about the future of ICOs in the U.S.? Yeah. Well, I've talked to some people at the SEC. And they are working as quickly as they can to try to create sort of a nice platform for people to do ICOs. They're very cognizant of the idea that this is the next internet, and they don't want to miss out on it. They are still concerned for the widows and orphans. That's their argument, the widows and orphans. Who might be taken advantage of in an ICO, and so they're very concerned that if it is a security, that they have to stick with securities law. But I'd say the U.S. is as open as almost any governments are now. The Swiss seem to have put up a whole bunch of barriers. The Singaporeans are still very open. And Japan, of course, is very open, and they've laid down their regulations. And we're working with a lot of different governments to see if they're going to be open to attracting or making Bitcoin one of their national currencies the way Japan did. I don't get South Korea. That's the country that my dad fought for, and it's supposed to be the free country. And somehow they've blocked ICOs. And I don't know whether that was pressure from China or what that was, but it was a huge mistake. All of this amazing stuff that was going on in South Korea now is sort of being moved or shut down or whatever. Where do you see blockchain fit or mesh into other emerging techs, IoT, robotics, AI, ML? Well, I think of the blockchain as this perfect ledger that keeps perfect track of people and what they do and where they go and how their health is and all that. And it can be used for any number of purposes. And of course, AI and machine learning and deep learning are all going to be big parts of the next generation of great thinking. And how does it apply to IoT and robotics? Well, there's no question that it's going to be intricately tied to all machines too. So IoT humans will all be. One thing that we really ought to do, and people should focus on, is identity. I think we have to know who the person is that we're dealing with, and that has to be. I think that's the strongest effort that should be put in right now, is make sure the identity of the person is solid. I think some of the biggest arguments we have against using crypto for everything is that that people can come in and pretend they're someone else or whatever. I think if we can figure out the best way, or a way that's unhackable, that's maybe not digital, maybe it's analog. If we can do that, then all of a sudden this whole thing opens up. I mean, already I feel much safer about my Bitcoin than I do about my dollars in the bank. And every time people ask me, well, are you thinking you're going to sell your Bitcoin? No, I'm actually thinking that that's just my money, and I'll invest with it and I'll spend it and whatever. And when I think of going back to dollars, I think, well, wait, why would I go to a currency that is so limited? It's limited only by these geographic borders. And I think, oh, wait, I'm not sure I want to go back to that. Still allow foreign countries to ICO to South Korea. Oh, they do? Well, maybe that's new. But they came down hard. They said, no, ICOs are illegal to start with. But I think governments, they all have to compete with each other now. They have to compete for you, for us, for all of us. They have to compete for dollars, for entrepreneurs, for people. And in doing so, they're going to have to become more efficient, more effective. You're going to have to feel like your tax dollars are well spent. They're not going to get away with this sort of like, hey, no, you just have to be taxed more, and we'll put it wherever we want, and we'll just pay for bigger pensions for ourselves. That stuff is not going to happen, because people are not going to put up with it. They're going to move. They'll vote with their feet, and the countries that are command and control are going to lose all their entrepreneurs. They're going to lose all their investment dollars. I mean, it's already happening to China. China put down all these walls and said, oh, you can't get money out, so no money's going to go in. And then all the great entrepreneurs that are Bitcoin, blockchain, ICO entrepreneurs, they're all leaving China. They're all going to the US or somewhere where people greet them with open arms. What are the implications of blockchain in the pharmaceutical industry? Well, it's pretty interesting. I think you're going to be able to identify the drug and tie it to the blockchain, and you'll know that that drug is for real. And that'll be really important in some of the third world countries where I love third world, second world. I think about that and I say, well, wait a second, I've been to all these places. They've all got Starbucks. They've all got, big shiny buildings. They've all got poverty. They've all got problems. I think it's one world. But anyway, I think pharmaceuticals can be used for a couple of different things. I mean, pharmaceuticals can be affected by the blockchain, but I actually think medicine is going to be affected by the blockchain, because each of our health is going to be tied to our individual person, and we're going to be able to keep track of our Fitbit results and our blood tests and our heredity and our health and all the things that happen to us, and any drugs we're taking. And I don't take any, so I don't really know, but any drugs we're taking, and then we're going to be able to put that up into the cloud, and we're going to have a perfect assessment of our body and what should happen to our body in this situation. So you develop cancer, one thing may or may not work for you that worked for somebody else, and so that's going to be kind of this really wild, wide open time. It's going to be a time when the doctor is less effective than the cloud. This is going to be really, a lot of professions are going to be able to change. Any job where people do sort of the same thing over and over is definitely going to be transformed. And so those people will be able to have better lives. I mean, maybe they won't have that job, but their job will be better. It'll be more advanced. There'll be more imagination to their job. So those kinds of things are very exciting. Germany, no tax on your crypto if you keep it for greater than 1 year before transfer back to fiat. Yeah, see, there's a country that's competing for you. They want you in their country. They want that crypto. I think we're going to see a lot of that where these governments are going, whoa, what happens? I just lost all these people who had all this crypto, or how did Germany suddenly get so rich? What happened? How can we trust the new ICOs coming into the market nowadays? That's a really good question. I look at that and I say the current ICOs, when I evaluate an ICO, I look and I say, is this a societal transformation? And are these people behind it just dedicating their life to making that sociological change? And those are the questions that you should ask before you jump in just based on hearsay of some friend or another. Find out who those people are and what they're really planning on doing. Because if you can figure out what they're really doing, and then you say, okay, that is something I really believe in and I can get behind, and it's going to be a movement and I want to be on that movement. That's when you should back the ICOs. Otherwise, I'd hold tight, sit on your Bitcoin, and wait for your moment. I know everybody's making money on the ICOs right now. That will probably go away. Now it's going to have to be the greatest of the ICOs will spread and become more valuable, and everything will be great. And the lesser of the ICOs will not even be tradable. So I would say, make sure that you're focused on the greater of the ICOs, and we're very particular on which ICOs we back. And so far it's we've had trouble, and that kind of had to do with the legal structure in Switzerland. It doesn't understand human behavior. And having the nonprofit piece and the for-profit piece, and the nonprofits run by one group and the for-profits run by another group, that's a nightmare. I would not go in that direction. What's the liquidity of ICOs? What exchange will they trade on? Well, I think that there's probably an opportunity for an entrepreneur to trade all the ICOs, but that's Bancor's plan, to have any ICO go right through them. And Tezos, similarly, you can create ICOs on top of Tezos. I think that like Coinbase has been very careful on which ones they bring on. But it may be over time that they create something that makes it easy to get on the other ICOs. So they've only taken on the 3 as far as I know. Let's see, 5 minutes ago, or actually it's less than 5 minutes. I'm going to have to go before that. What are the applications of blockchain in academia? Well, I think in academia, people should teach it. It's amazing how long it takes for an academic institution to start teaching something that is obviously going to change society in a huge way. And that's why at Draper University, we just have speakers. We don't have like tenured professors. And so we can bring in the best and the brightest of the most recent time and have them speak for an hour or two. And fortunately, we did, and we had people talking about Bitcoin about 4 or 5 years ago, and some of the students that were in that class came out and they started one of the biggest Chinese ICOs. So a little tout for my university. Where a lot of universities keep people for 4 years and it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to go through. And then they kind of fight to get them jobs. Draper University of Heroes keeps them for 7 weeks, and they create 3 jobs each on average. So that's, I think we got a whole new way of looking at education. What problem would you recommend? See, I'm off to host the Ethereum Scotland meetup. Oh, tune in later. Great talk, thank you. Oh, great ICO project I'd invest in at this moment. Well, I think identity, something around identity would be a big deal. I think something around government. Anything you can do to replace a bureaucrat. Go look at all the different government agencies there are and just think, you know, how do I replace these with the blockchain? Those are things that I think about. I keep looking for one that's a title company for real estate, or or tying it to insurance. I'm looking for those. I think those are going to be very exciting. And then education. We've got a couple that we've looked at that are sort of tying it to your education, and that's that's fun. I think we've got to get over. I see a couple of questions around sort of fear. I think we've got to get out and think in terms of opportunity. I think fear is the mind killer, as they say, and people need to be able to go out and try things and experiment and jump in and explore the world. And I think just you know, go forward, build your business, do what's right. If there are laws for you, which, you know, when there's a new industry like this, there are no laws. You have to kind of go and figure out and use your own best judgment on what's the right thing to do. And once you get through all that, then just try things and explore and experiment. Oh, it looks like I'm out of time. So thank you all. It was fun. It was fun reading your questions, and hopefully you'll go out, explore the world with gusto and enthusiasm. And as we say at Draper University, I will fail and fail again until I succeed. And there's what I'm promoting today.